Welcome back to another exciting episode of Four Wolves Takes, where your boy, Artis Woods, will bring you four fresh Minnesota Timberwolves takes. And as always, like usual, y'all know the drill. It's an honor, it's a privilege to be in front of you all today. For me on this Friday night, for you all, Saturday morning. Again, welcome back to Four Wolves Takes. The Wolves looking good, man. Wolves playing great basketball right now, I must admit. I must say. You know, I changed how I view them. I have lowered my expectations, but, man, they're making it hard not to rise them again. I'm not going to fall into that trap, though. As y'all can see, in a different studio today. Not new, but different. Making some changes here at Score North. Nothing crazy, nothing dramatic, but I did want to point out, feels good to be in a different room, different studio, talking to you all today. But again, that's irrelevant. The Wolves, man, I must admit, trade deadline, I expected them to make a move or two. I did. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to act as if I didn't expect the Minnesota Timberwolves to make some sort of move. But after the trade deadline came and went, I must say, when I sat back and I thought about it and I continued to watch how the Wolves play, I wasn't too mad. Because I still feel like they're in the process of evaluating things. I know the ownership thing is also, kind of over the team as well. And so I wasn't too mad. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's not as bad as I thought. Maybe they didn't have to make a move right this second. You still got some options over the summer. I still trust the general manager that's in place. I do. I know some people don't, but I do. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm not mad. And on top of it, to add to why I'm not too upset, the Wolves are now the 6th seed in the Western Conference. They inching up. They are moving up the ladder in the West. So my first take of the day, man, I want to get right into it. First take of the day. Keep playing the youngins. We have been screaming for this. Jalen Clark playing out of his mind, playing polished basketball. Against the Rockets, 17, 3-1, shooting 5 of 9 from the field. Getting somewhere around 17 minutes, around 20 minutes a game right now. And he is very productive. Terrence Shannon Jr., TSJ, it seems like every time he touches the floor, he's making a special play. Every time he touches the floor, he dunking on somebody. That's just kind of how it feels when you watch him play. It just feels like he has the talent to one day be a starter in this league. I'm just calling it how I see it. It looks like he has that talent if given the opportunity. Every time I see him play, man, it's something special happening. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Rob Dillingham in my next take. But of course, there's Rob Dillingham, who, again, I'm going to talk a bit more about him in my next take. But we all know how I feel about him. I think he's special. The youngins bring a different level of energy to the game, a different level of hustle, a different level of defense, a different level of tenacity, hunger, and it sparks the team. So my message to coach is this: keep playing them. Even when Julius Randle comes back, even when Randle and DiVincenzo comes back, make sure you find room to play these guys in spurts. They don't have to get dramatic minutes. But make sure you continue to play them in spurts. They are spark plugs coming off of the bench. There are guys that could come in and spell for guys like Dante and Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley when those guys need breathers. Enough of these 7-man rotations that don't include 8-man rotations that don't include any of these young guys. I think they have shown the potential to really have an impact on winning basketball. And at this point, like I said before, you are in an evaluation period. That's what this year has become. I still believe, 6th seed in the West, they can still make some noise. I mean, they right there, right? But you're also at the same time in an evaluation period. What do we have in Rob Dillingham? What do we have in TSJ? What do we have in Jalen Clark? What do we have in Luka Garza? What do we have in these young guys, right? What do we have in these young guys, right? Who should we trade? Who shouldn't we trade? Like, we got to figure that out. And this is the perfect opportunity to figure all of that out. And again, these guys have earned playing time. Just to my eye, I'm not there in practice, but I'm watching the games. These guys have earned playing time. These guys have earned an opportunity to show you what they can do. At the very least, man, if you want to move on from one of them, which I don't really recommend at this point, but if you do decide to move on from one of them, if you give them some playing time, other teams see it too. Hey, that youngin got some potential. We'll give you this. We'll give you that for that player. It's just there is multiple different benefits to getting these young guys on the floor and giving them opportunities. So I think the coaching staff and even the organization at times feel as though they are in win now mode. At this point, I disagree. We're in let's figure out what we have mode. And if that turns into wins, because playing these young guys, you're not dropping games because you're playing them. So if you win games at the same time, that's great. But I don't view the Wolves anymore as a team that is in win now mode. They are a team that has potential to make a run. But this is let's see what we have and build for the future around Anthony Edwards. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. Keep playing the youngins. Take number 2. This might be my hottest take of the day. And before I give it, I want to first give credit to Phil Mackey, my boss, for in his own way giving me this take. In his own way, he gave me this take because he brought this up. He brought this up on Flagrant House. And I thought about it. And everybody else answered, but didn't answer with the level of confidence that I'm going to answer with. So I'm going to put it up on the screen because now I'm taking the take. Now I'm taking the take. Rob Dillingham has number 2 scoring option potential. I genuinely think that Rob Dillingham, if given the opportunity, could be the second option for the Timberwolves. Now, I'm not saying this to say if you have an opportunity to get a bona fide second option to pair alongside with Anthony Edwards, you don't do it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's ready to be that guy this year. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if you told me, let's say in 3 years, maybe even 2 years, hey, the Wolves haven't made a single move, but as far as trades and things of that nature or free agency, they haven't brought in a big-time offensive talent. But they've kept their core guys, and they are making a run for the finals. Rob Dillingham is the second best scorer on the team. It wouldn't shock me in the slightest. The man has the bag offensively. There is nothing offensively Rob cannot do. Shoot, shot create, facilitate, handle. He has it all. He has hoop game. Like, you show up at the park, I want to play with that guy. I want to play with that guy. That's the type of game he has, that Kyrie Irving-like game, that Allen Iverson-like game. The one game you decide to give him, what was it? 23 minutes. He goes off for 19 points, shooting 8 of 11 from the field, 11 assists. The one time you decide to give him 23 minutes, 19 points, 8 of 11, and 8 assists. Now, again, he's not a finished product. He's going to go out there. He's going to make mistakes. It's not going to be perfect dealing with Rob Dillingham at this point in his career. We all know this. You're going to have some games where he turns the ball over or has a bad quarter or 2 or 3. That's going to happen. He's a rookie. It takes time. But I know what I see in Rob Dillingham as far as potential is concerned. He has the potential to be that guy. And that is no shade towards anyone else that is also in position to be that next guy, like a Naz Reid potentially. You know, that's or anybody else they bring in. It's no shot because those guys are great too. But Rob is a different type of skill set. And in a game nowadays where some of the best teams in the league have 2 guards, 2 wing players that carry, you could be looking at a backcourt with Rob Dillingham and Anthony Edwards as your 2 best offensive pieces for the foreseeable future. And I think over time, that can be a championship formula. Yes, I said it. I believe it. I think it can. So I'm going to get ahead of that right now. I'm not going to, maybe it's too early. No, I'm going to get ahead of it now. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If they trade him, they trade him. If it don't pan out, it don't pan out. But I'm going to get ahead of it now and say, Rob Dillingham, I think if you hold on to him and you put him in position, You play him, give him an opportunity, start him, and let him learn from his mistakes, let him grow. I think he can be the second best scorer on the Minnesota Timberwolves alongside Anthony Edwards. I think he can be that Robin to Anthony Edwards Batman. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. Sounds crazy to some, but it sounds real to me. I know what I see. Take number 3 on the day. The West is loading up. We all see it, but we shouldn't be concerned. If you're a Wolves fan, you should not be concerned with what you see. Why? Because of what I've already said. I believe this is not a win-now basketball team. I believe this is a let's see what we have, and let's go into this next offseason and figure out what the next moves are. Let's figure out what the ownership situation is. I feel like that's what the Wolves are about right now. That's number 1. But number 2, I mean, yeah, some teams made some moves, right? Some teams made some moves. I mean, the Lakers, as you can see in the graphic, the Lakers now have Luka, but they lost AD, so the defense is going to suffer. LeBron and Anthony Davis got to figure out, LeBron and Luka have to figure out who's going to have the ball in their hand most of the game. I think that's going to be, a big-time adjustment. Obviously, the Mavs now have Anthony Davis with Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson, and a lot of people are really high. I saw Stephen A. say he believes the Mavs are the number 1 seed in the West now, and I'm just looking at the standings. I'm like, the Mavs are number 8 in the conference. So we just going to skip past the Clippers, the Timberwolves, the Lakers, the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Grizz, and the Thunder, and make them the number 1 seed because they just traded for Anthony Davis. And there's no shot at Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is maybe the second best big in the league right now, right behind Jokic. So no shot at Anthony Davis, but this move made them the best team in the Western Conference. I'm not so sure about that. You got the Kings, right? The Kings let go of De'Aaron Fox, traded him to the Spurs. I think the Spurs have a bright future. I think that move was more so for the future than the right now. So I wouldn't be worried about the Spurs at the moment. But they are a younger, unbecoming team. I can see it, Wemby and Fox having that chemistry and being a dynamic duo in the future. But not right this moment, right? And then again, the Kings, they're almost like no shot at them, but it's almost like the Sacramento Bulls at this point because now you have DeMar DeRozan and you have Zach LaVine, and I know they have a lot of other pieces there, but who knows what that will be. When I look at this Western Conference, yes, teams have made moves. The Warriors, can't forget about Golden State getting Jimmy Butler. I think that's a big-time move. I think they'll be a tough out if they make the playoffs. Right now, they're the 11th seed in the conference. Teams are making moves. It would have been nice to see the Wolves make a move. At least originally, that's how I felt. But now, like I said, looking back on it, I'm not concerned because at the end of the day, none of these teams scare you as a Wolves fan, given what we just saw. I mean, the Wolves as presently constructed, not even fully healthy, just beat the Rockets on a back-to-back. They have shown you this season they could compete with just about anybody. I think in this series they can compete. Now, I'm not going to say beat, but I will say compete with just about anybody in the conference. So, given the state of the Wolves this season, the young, youthful players that you have, and how you see the future going for the Wolves, looking at the West and seeing all of the moves that all these other teams made shouldn't concern you. Because at the end of the day, they have their own stuff they got to figure out. They got to figure out their own house. At least the Wolves right now, they are finally starting to develop that chemistry. They are finally starting to figure it out in ways that these other teams who just made moves are going to have to do. They're going to go through rough patches the same way the Wolves went through early season rough patches. So, wouldn't be concerned if I'm a Wolves fan. The West is loading up. It's something that you notice. That's nice. It's my response. That's nice. It's nice. Last take of the day, man. Anthony Edwards is taking the step we all wanted. This is the Anthony Edwards I believe we all wanted. The Anthony Edwards right now, who has a career high in points. The Anthony Edwards right now, who just passed Karl Anthony Towns for the most 40-point games with the Wolves, 14. The Anthony Edwards who has made over 1,000 career three-pointers. The Anthony Edwards who is shooting a career high from the free throw line and from the three-point line. The Anthony Edwards that has tied his career high in rebounds at 5.8. And the Anthony Edwards who's also moving the ball at the same time. The assists are jumping up as well. Anthony Edwards, I feel, is figuring it out. 27 points a game, 45% we round up for Wolves players. 45% from the field right now. Anthony Edwards playing great basketball. And I know early this season he was going through a rough patch. He was trying to figure it out. You know, new teammates, had to get the chemistry down. But right now, Anthony Edwards is playing lights out basketball. We talking about 49 and 41 on back-to-back nights? Unheard of. That don't happen too often. Most of the time on back-to-back nights, especially back-to-back nights on the road, you don't get these type of performances. But Dylan Brooks had to go and be Dylan Brooks, and there you go. 41 on your head. Just like that. This is the Anthony Edwards I expected to see from the jump before Karl-Anthony Towns was traded, coming off of that Olympic run. The jump that we all wanted to see. Now that Anthony Edwards has had a few seasons under his belt, he's made a playoff run. He's gone to the Western Conference Finals. We want to see him improve in different areas of his game. And we are starting to see he's figuring out the double teams. He's figuring out when to move the ball. He's figuring out when to attack before the double team gets there. And I feel like the youthful energy is helping him as well, man. Like I said in my first take, I feel like that youthful energy is helping as well, man. Get these young guys out there forcing turnovers, getting up and down the floor, making plays, getting excited. That gets anybody ready to go. You know? It infuses a different level of energy throughout the team. And when you're the star like Anthony Edwards, all it does is pushes you. When you see Rob Dillingham and TSJ and all these guys, Jalen out there getting buckets, making plays. Hey, I want to do it too. Let's get it going. I'm just saying, man, I love what I'm seeing from the Wolves. I'm not too upset about not making any moves because, again, let's see what we got first. Let's just see what we got first and then make some moves. Let's see what we have. Let's know officially what we have and then make some moves. That's how I see it. Make some moves when you know exactly how you need to build to compete for a championship. Not just because you want to make a move to make people happy. But that's all I have for y'all today on this week's episode of 4 Wolves Takes. It's been an honor and a privilege to be in front of you all today. 6th seed in the West. Like I told y'all last episode, they was only a few games back from the top 5. Now, if I could quickly pull this up, sitting in the 6th seed, 2.5 games back from 2nd place, from 5th place, 3.5 games back from 4th, and you just beat the team that's in 4th, the Houston Rockets. You might look up and be a top 4 seed in the West before you know it. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this going. I will catch y'all on the next episode of 4 Wolves Takes.